Bassi was sitting on a bench and was watching the seashore on a cool afternoon. He had no idea that his life was about to change forever. Suddenly, a beautiful young woman walked towards him. It was as if she had appeared out of nowhere. Bassi was too captivated by her beauty to wonder where she had come out of. Asking where she came from would have been the one thing that would have saved his life. The lady was indeed a beauty. It was as though she was one with the waves. She was fair with skin that glowed like a snake's skin. Her beautiful hair was dark and long, and it seemed to bounce as she walked up to Bassi. She wore a beautiful white dress that made her skin glitter even more. "Pardon me, I am looking for a fisherman," she said to Bassi in a beautiful melodious voice. Bassi immediately got to his feet. For a moment, Bassi couldn't find his voice. Her eyes captivated him. The beautiful lady repeated the question and Bassi finally found his voice. "What is the fisherman's name?" Bassi asked, and the lady answered. "I don't know. He is tall, dark, with a little beard," the lady said. Bassi couldn't really tell who she was asking of, but the description only matched Kofo. "I think you're referring to Kofo. He has gone fishing," Bassi said. The lady frowned and Bassi felt bad. "You can sit here with me and wait for him," Bassi said. That was the one statement that changed Bassi's life, and very soon he would live to regret it. The beautiful lady sat beside him, and soon they started talking. Bassi found her very easy to talk to. It was as though they were old friends. Time went by quickly, and soon night had come. She got up and told Bassi she had to go. She walked away, and shortly after she had gone, the fishermen came back. But Bassi forgot to tell Kofo about the beautiful woman that came looking for him. Bassi was training to be a fisherman, and so he started attending to the fishermen, helping them with the catch of the day, and totally forgot to tell Kofo about the lady that came looking for him. Days after, Bassi was seated at the seashore when the lady came again. And as usual, they talked and laughed like old friends. And again, she left just before the fishermen came back. This went on for a while, but as strange as it was, Bassi never mentioned the lady to Kofo. After a couple of visits from the strange beautiful lady, Bassi one day asked her where she lived. The lady smiled and asked Bassi if he was serious about knowing where she lived. Bassi confirmed his interest, and the lady told him that she would take him to her home. So after they talked, the lady got up and told Bassi she was ready to go home. Bassi got up and followed her, and they walked along the seashore. They walked for a few minutes, but after a while, Bassi noticed that the lady was walking very close to the sea. They kept talking until Bassi noticed that the beautiful lady was now walking inside the sea. She stopped and asked Bassi if he trusted her, and Bassi nodded. She stretched out her hand and Bassi took it, and they walked into the sea. Bassi felt as though he was in a trance. He was totally mesmerized by the beautiful lady, and he became very fearless. One moment they were neck deep in the water, and the next minute they were in a beautiful city. It was like nothing Basia had ever seen. She took Bassy to a very beautiful house, and when they got in, she told Bassy that this was her home. It was difficult to know how much time that had passed while he was there because Bassy was having a good time. One day, the lady told Bassy that it was time for him to go back home. She then gave him a little bag and told him that the contents of the bag would take him home. She told him that whenever he needed money to pay his fare, he should dip his hand into the bag and he would find money enough to cover his fare. She also instructed Bassy that after he gets home, he should buy a parcel of land and build a house. She gave him specifications he was to follow to the letter. He was to paint the exterior and the interior of the house white. There was to be a table in the sitting room covered with a white cloth, and the bed in the bedroom was to have only white bed sheets. Bassy found himself agreeing to everything the lady said. She told Bassy that when the house was completed, that she would come and visit. She, however, made Bassy promise not to have another woman aside from her. The lady held Bassy's hands, called the name of a little town nearby, and Bassy appeared there. Bassy found his way to a car park, and when he was asked for his fare, he dipped his hand into his bag, and when he brought it out, he had the exact amount of money for his fare. When he got home, his mother asked him where he had been, because the whole village had been searching for him. Bassy simply told his mother that he had gone to visit a friend. Bassy went ahead to search for a piece of land where he could build a house, just like the lady had instructed. When he was told the amount of money the land would cost, Bassy simply dipped his hand into the bag, and when he brought it out, he saw the exact amount of money that he needed to buy the land. All the expenses needed to build the house was paid by Bassy. All he needed to do was dip his hand into the little bag and he would have any amount he needed. The bag seemed to be an endless pot of money. All the while, Bassy never mentioned anything about the beautiful lady at the sea to anyone. In the twinkle of an eye, Bassy had finished building the house, and that was when his troubles started. People in the village started gossiping. They couldn't understand how a young man like Bassy could afford such a beautiful house. But no one asked him about his source of wealth, not even his mother. He had built the house and furnished it exactly the way she had asked, but there was no sign of her. One evening, Bassy had come back from a night stroll, and immediately he opened the door of his sitting room. His eyes immediately spotted a snake on his center table. Bassy was so terrified that he lost his voice. He couldn't scream. He could only stare at the snake in horror as he stood transfixed to the ground. Right before his very eyes, the snake recoiled and it turned into the beautiful lady, and instantly the fear was gone from Bassy. Bassy rushed to her and hugged her, and they started chatting away like two lovers. She stayed for a few days, and they were the most beautiful days of Bassy's life. Right in their bedroom, they visited exotic locations all over the world together. All she needed to do was simply hold his hands and mention the name of the place, and the next second they would be transported there. Soon after, she told Bassie that she had to go back, but she would return. But before she left, she still reminded Bassie of the one rule she gave him, which was that Bassie was to have no other woman or bring any woman to the house. Bassie reaffirmed his devotion to her. They went to bed together that night, and by the next morning, she was gone. Everyone in the village was talking about Bassie and his newfound wealth, but no one had the guts to confront him. One day, Bassie was on his way to a friend's house when he heard voices in the bush. It seemed to be two young children, and they sounded like they were in distress. Without thinking, he ran into the bush and he found two young boys. One of them had been bitten by a snake. Bassie immediately carried the boy to the village healer. The parents of the boy were called, but the healer, after applying a lot of herbs on the boy's leg, said there was nothing that could be done. According to him, the poison had totally affected the boy's entire system. Bassie suddenly got a nudge to go into a nearby bush. He returned with a few leaves, and while everyone was weeping over the boy's predicament, Bassie squeezed out juice from the leaves and applied to the spot the snake had bitten the boy. The boy that had fainted immediately coughed and opened his eyes. Everyone cheered and jubilated. Bassie was no longer the most gossiped over young man, but a healer. Every parent wanted their son to be like Bassie. In the days that followed, Bassie healed the blind. He healed broken bones. His knowledge of herbs was second to none. And before long, the women in the village wanted their daughters to marry Bassie. But Bassie wouldn't even let the ladies enter his house, talk more of marrying them. The village was stuck between marrying Bassie and being curious of his strange life. No one knew of the beautiful lady that often visited Bassie. That was a shock that no one was prepared for. Amanso, Bassie's friend, had a beautiful sister who was totally obsessed with Bassie. She had tried everything in her power to get noticed by Bassie. She would often go to Bassie's mother's house to help with chores. Bassie's mother had tried convincing her son to marry Obong, but Bassie wouldn't hear of it, and Bassie's mother could not understand why. She begged, pleaded, and resorted to emotional blackmail, but Bassie was adamant. Bassie's mother, seeing her son was being stubborn, told Obong that the only way out was for her to get pregnant for Bassie. And for that to happen, she would have to not only go close to Bassie, but also sleep with him. The plan had been set in motion, and Obong and Bassie's mother had gone to Bassie's house to wait for him. The plan was that they would go into Bassie's house, and Bassie's mother would leave late in the night, leaving Obong there to spend the night with Bassie. And while they waited at Bassie's house, Bassie, who had gone to administer some herbs to an ailing child, was returning home. On his way home, he suddenly spotted his beautiful friend standing by a farm. He hugged her, and in an instant, she took him away on an adventure at an island. While Bassie and his mother waited endlessly, Bassie was far away, oblivious to the plan his mother had hatched. The two women went back to their respective homes as night fell, since Bassie was nowhere to be found. Since Obong and Bassie's mother's plan failed, Amanso, Bassie's friend, got involved. Amanso asked his friend why he wouldn't even look at his sister. And that was when Bassey told Amanso that he already had a woman in his life. But Amanso didn't let the matter rest, mostly because his sister didn't want to accept defeat. She told her brother Amanso that no one in the village had ever seen Bassey's woman, and that if Bassey wasn't yet married to the woman, she still had a chance. Ubong begged and insisted that her brother talk to Bassey again. But Amanso didn't want to. He felt Bassey was the one to choose a wife and not a woman insisting he wanted him. But after Ubong rejected 3 suitors, Amanso knew he had to speak with his friend again. My sister genuinely loves you. Please spend some time with her. She has rejected 3 suitors already. Besides, I haven't even met this your lady in question. What is her name? Amanso asked Bassey. It was as though a veil had been lifted from Bassey's eyes. Bassey realized he didn't even know the name of the lady he had been relating with. Bassey told his friend the truth, that he didn't know her name. Amanso stood still, his face wrinkled in disbelief. You mean you've been with this woman all this time and you don't even know her name? Bassey scratched his head, confused. Dazed even. It never came up, he replied weakly. You're not in love, my friend. You're under a spell, Amanso said sternly. And if she hasn't told you her name, then you need to ask her yourself. What else could she be keeping from you? Those words haunted Bassey throughout the night. That was the first time since he met her that doubt crept into his heart. He sat on the floor of his white painted room and stared at the white covered table. For the first time, it didn't feel pure. It felt imposed, foreign. He realized he had never questioned anything she asked of him. That night, he couldn't sleep. He kept glancing at the door, half expecting her to slither in like before, but she didn't come. The next morning, Bassey stood by the sea, gazing at the waves, waiting, hoping, but there was no sign of her. Then he did something he had never dared to do before. He called out, "Show me who you really are. I deserve to know your name." There was silence, and suddenly, the air around him grew still. The sea parted slightly, and she emerged, her white dress shimmering, her eyes unreadable. "You called me to ask for the truth," she said. "No one has ever dared." "What is your name?" Bassey asked again. She stepped closer, but her glow seemed dimmer. "I am Nsinem," she whispered, and the wind howled at the sound of her name. "Who are you really?" Bassey asked, his voice trembling. "I am the daughter of the water," she said, "born of the sea, bride of the tide, sister to the waves. I chose you." Bassey stepped back, his heart pounding. "Why me?" She looked at him, sad and stern. "Because your heart was open and your spirit unclaimed. But now you doubt." "I just want the truth," Bassey said. "Have I been under a spell?" Nsinem smiled, but it was not warm. A man in love calls it devotion. A man in doubt calls it a spell. The sea gave you gifts, and all it asked was loyalty. The next moment, she was gone. Weeks passed. Bassey tried to stay away from people, but the pressure from the village intensified. His mother wept day and night. Ubong made another attempt to see Bassey. This time, she came while Bassey was away. She opened his door with a master key and stepped into his house. She only wanted to wait for Bassey, she told herself. Her desperation had made her go too far. But the moment she sat at the white-colored table and lifted the cloth to look underneath, the air in the house changed. She heard a hiss, and then the house began to tremble. Before she could scream, the table exploded into shards, and a massive white python emerged and vanished through the wall. Ubong ran out, screaming. By the time Bassi got back, the house was in chaos. The villagers were gathered. They had seen the snake slither into the bush. Everyone was shouting. Bassi stood still, his heart racing. He didn't need to ask what happened. He went inside and found the white tablecloth burned, the house darker. That night, Iyan didn't come. 3 nights later she appeared, not through the door, not as a lady, but as a serpent on the roof, coiled, watching. When Bassi saw her, she transformed slowly into her human form. Only this time her beauty was veiled by sorrow. "You let another woman enter our covenant," she said. "I wasn't here," Bassi replied. "I didn't know." "But you did not stop them. You did not protect what rebels." Tears filled Bassi's eyes. "I never meant to break anything." Iyan stepped forward, her body half human, half serpent. "You were chosen, Bassi, but now you must pay the price." He fell to his knees. "Please, don't take it all away. Please, spare my life." She touched his shoulders gently. "You will leave, but you will remember." Then she turned and vanished into the floor. 1 month later, the house was gone. Just gone. A large patch of white sand stood where it used to be. No one could explain how it happened. The money bag was gone. His powers gone. Bassi had become an ordinary man again. But he didn't want to return to fishing. He chose instead to teach children how to identify herbs. He lived quietly, avoiding attention. Some said he had been cursed. Others said he had been married to a marine spirit. Some swore they saw a white snake watching from the trees whenever Bassi walked by. Only Bassi knew the truth, but he never uttered her name again. Not every blessing is from the gods. Ask questions and never make promises you don't understand. If you enjoyed this story, do give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't. Subscription is free. Remember to share the story with a friend or two that you feel will enjoy it. Thank you so much for